Hey everybody, so today we're going to take a look at climographs. I introduced these to you last class, if you were here, and we're going to work on being able to understand, read, interpret climographs, and be able to predict biomes based on what we can see from the temperature and precipitation of a region over the course of a year. One of the things you're going to want to do before you start this lesson is review your biomes. Take a look at each of the biomes that we covered in class, what it's like from a temperature and precipitation standpoint in each of those biomes, as well as what each one of those biomes may look like, where it's located. All of these things are going to help you in today's lesson. So what you're going to do today is open up the Climographs quiz. It's called Climographs Group Quiz, actually, in the Day 7 folder. And you're going to want to take each one or take each question one at a time. Try it yourself first, then pause it, and then turn this video back on and listen to my explanation of it. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So right now, go ahead and do that. Open up the Climographs Group Quiz, pause this video, take the first question yourself, and then come back to this video. All right. Hopefully you did that, and you're back here ready to hear the answer for question number 1. You should be able to see my screen here, and you'll notice that we have temperatures that are pretty much, again, you're going to look at line graph for the temperature, and you'll notice the temperature over here in Fahrenheit is around 80. It looks like in this location from the months, you're looking at close to 80 degrees all year. Rainfall, you're looking at from 4 inches in January all the way up to 15 inches. That's a lot of rain in 1 month. And then back down. Now, it does get drier here in October, November, and December. And so a lot of students think, oh, goodness, well, because it's drier here for these 3 months, then this must be a savanna. Because most kids get this as tropical. This is someplace near the equator. But what you're missing here on this is that even though this is less than what it's getting at its peak, you're still looking at a little over 2 to around 2 inches of rainfall per month, which is still a pretty decent amount of rainfall to have in a month. And so it's not going to be that dry where trees are going to struggle with this amount of rainfall. So this one is a tropical rainforest. All right, pause the video and do number 2 and then come back. Okay. Number 2. For number 2, as we take a look at, let's take a look at the temperature first, and we'll see that the temperature is corresponding over here with the right side of the graph. We're talking negative almost 10, lower than negative 10, negative 10, gets all the way up to an average of 0 degrees here in April, shoots way up here in May to 20 degrees, and then we're getting all the way up over 30 degrees for a little while and then back down. This is very cold winters. Summers, I mean, you're talking average in the 40s. That's still pretty cool. So in fact, there's only 3 months where you actually have temperatures above freezing. And even then, it's not much above freezing. So one of the things that you should have gotten tipped off to in this graph was that it's going to be pretty much the ground is going to be frozen year round. 3 months of just 40 degrees is only going to be enough to give you is only going to be able to thaw out the topsoil just a little bit. So that would give you one clue that this is going to be a place with permafrost. And if you'll notice, there's also very little precipitation. The highest up here is in August, about 1.2 inches of precipitation. Very dry, very cold winters. Summers that are just, almost 40 degrees with a little bit of precipitation. We're looking at a tundra in this case. All right, go ahead and do the next video or the next climograph and then come back to the video. Okay, this climograph, if you'll notice, as we look at the temperature first, one of the things, by the way, you can know is if it is a warmer temperatures in the June, July, August, we know this is a city that's in the northern hemisphere somewhere. So we look at this and we see temperatures in the 50s in the winter, all the way up to the 80s in the summer, and back down to the 50s here. That means it's a hot summer, but it's not too cold in the winter. So we got mild winters here. So we know it's someplace that's not getting really cold winters. And then we'll notice that we've got only a few months have over 2 inches of rain. So this is not a place where trees are going to be able to grow very well. And a lot of these months, you're looking at like 6 months in the year have an inch or less of rainfall. So this is hot, very dry summers with mild winters with some precipitation, which should describe the chaparral for you. All right, go ahead and do climograph number 4. Okay, this one. We'll notice again, let's look at the temperature first. We know this is a northern hemisphere city again, and we're looking at temperatures that average in the 30s in January, all the way up to the 80s, and then back down to 30s. That's a big temperature swing. So we know this is someplace that's going to experience more extreme temperature changes from summer to winter. We're also going to notice it's getting over 2 inches of rain for most of the year, with the exception of December, January, February. And so this is a temperate deciduous forest. Now, you might be like, well, that's 3 months of dry, Mr. Crandall. Well, remember that deciduous trees are going to lose their leaves for the winter. And so December, January, February, they're really not needing that much water because they're not losing that much water from the fact that they don't have their leaves. So they can make it through some winter months here where it is drier. So temperate deciduous forest on this one. All right, stop the tape and go ahead and do this next one. All right. This one should be easy from figuring out the biome because you have hardly any rainfall. In fact, if you add those all up together, you bet, and this location has about 1 inch of rain for an entire year. That's absolutely a desert. You'll also notice that it is in the northern hemisphere and someplace that's fairly close to the equator because you're going from 80s in the summer to 60s. So it's a place that is not getting too cold. So in this case, Cairo, Egypt is your correct answer. All right, you can hit pause and do the next question. All right, the next one you'll notice right away is very consistent precipitation, like incredibly consistent precipitation, like 2 inches in every month. Again, 2 inches is enough for trees. That's adequate rainfall for trees. And so we're probably looking at some sort of temperate deciduous forest. You'll notice the temperatures in the 40s to the 60s. This is not hot summers, but it's also not cold winters. So where might you have fairly consistent, actually really consistent precipitation and fairly consistent temperatures as well? Well, what would do that? Well, a large body of water keeps temperatures and precipitation more consistent throughout the year. So which one of those cities is in the northern hemisphere and is temperature deciduous forest but located close to a large body of water? That would be London, England. So that is your answer for 6. All right, go ahead and do number 7. Okay, so for number 7, we're going to notice fairly warm temperatures throughout the year, but a lot of students notice it's only like 60 degrees. So it seems a little cool to be by the equator, but yet it's warm all year and it's not cold. So where are we at here? Well, one of the things, again, you can look at is this is the southern hemisphere because notice June, July, August get a little colder, but actually December and January get a little cooler as well. The hot times of the year here are March and April and September and October, actually October, November here. So we're dealing with a place that's very close to the equator because you're having this kind of double wave. And it's just a little bit south of the equator, most likely. It also has quite a few rainy months. I mean, we don't see this 9 inches of rain in a month, pretty much, except if you're pretty close to the equator here in some sort of tropical area. Notice there is about 4 months here where it only gets about an inch to an inch and a half. And maybe, if you go 5 inches or 5 months with it getting 2 inches or less. That's a pretty long dry period. And so, therefore, this is a rainy season and a dry season. This is a tropical savanna. So, oh, and by the way, it's Nairobi, Kenya, which is in the savanna of Africa. Reason for its temperatures being a little lower, hopefully you remember to factor in elevation. Nairobi is about 5,000 feet above sea level, and so therefore it's gonna be cooler than you might expect to find at the equator. Last one, and that is this one here. If you'll notice, you're talking pretty cool temperatures here in the January and December. Pretty warm temperatures gets up into the mid 60s in June, July, August. Precipitation getting up to close to 2 inches here, but a lot of the months are over 1 inch. So, what kind of vegetation can handle that type of temperature and precipitation? Well, coniferous evergreen trees can. And so this is the taiga, longer, colder winters with summers that are pretty moderate with pretty decent amount of precipitation. All right, there you go. Hopefully you did okay on these and you are able to you be able to use this skill and do these questions on the test. All right, have a great day.